Hi everyone, welcome back to Falcon's House. Sorry for the lack of content over the past few weeks. A mix of holidays, illnesses, and internet issues have slowed my production. But we should be back on track now. This is a Lost Watch vlog starting Season 5, Episodes 1 through 3. Once again, I'm using Wikipedia for the recap sections. The episode begins in the late 1970s when the Dharma Initiative has begun to build stations on the island. Dr. Pierre Chang begins to film the orientation film for the Arrow Station when he is informed of an incident at the construction site of the Orchid Station. Upon arriving there, he realizes that the workers have found the unlimited energy source that the Dharma Initiative has been looking for, which enables them to manipulate time. As he leaves the station, he bumps into Daniel Faraday, who is dressed as a Dharma construction worker. How did Daniel end up in the 1970s? Seems like real time travel is happening now, which I had predicted a long time ago, though I had only thought that the Mayan to time travel was what we were going to get. I didn't expect full level time travel to actually happen after we got that Mayan to time travel. On December 30th, 2004, following the island being moved in There Is No Place Like Home, the survivors of Oceanic Flight 815, the freighter team, and Juliet began erratically jumping through time. Something Faraday likens to a skipping record, while the others are unaffected. Skipping record. Man, that's a really old reference in today's world. I mean, it makes sense still, but disc media, it doesn't even really exist anymore outside of Blu-rays and Ultra HD Blu-rays. People don't listen to CDs, really. People don't listen to records, really. I mean, there's some people that do, but as a mainstream source of music, it is gone. On December 30th, 2004, following the island being moved... Oh, sorry, I already read that part. The first jump takes them to the time when Beechcraft, carrying Mr. Echo's brother, crashes onto the island. John Locke is shot in the leg by Ethan, who has not yet met him, and therefore does not recognize him. Meanwhile, Sawyer, Juliet, and the freighter team head to the Swan Station in order to determine when they are. A second jump brings the group forward in time to after the destruction of the station, while Locke is approached by Richard, who recognizes Locke and treats his wound. He informs Locke that they will be strangers at their next meeting, and explains that the only way to stop the erratic movements through time is to bring everybody who has left the island, and then to do that, Locke will have to die. Another jump brings them to the past, and they find that the Swan Station is now intact. Sawyer tries to contact Desmond, who is inside, but Daniel asserts that the past cannot be changed, which they've already alluded to in previous time travel things like the constant. Like, things are going to happen the way they were meant to happen, and the universe will constantly correct itself. So Sawyer isn't supposed to meet Desmond yet, so he won't meet Desmond yet. So, Sawyer is not successful, and no one answers, and everyone heads back to the beach. Daniel stays behind and knocks again, and Desmond emerges dressed in a hazmat suit, thus belaying Daniel's original assertion that the other people can't meet him, but because he wasn't part of the original crash, he is able to meet Desmond at this point in time. Daniel tells him that Desmond's future self and the survivors of 815 make it off the island on a helicopter, and he should go to Oxford University and find Daniel's mother. in order to help the survivors. Another time jump occurs just before Daniel can give his mother's name. I have a feeling this season is going to get really complicated with all these time jumps and having to get everything straight. So, this is going to be a fun season. In 2007, back in Los Angeles, 2 lawyers deliver a court order to Kate, demanding a maternity test for her and Aaron, Claire's son, who Kate has been raising as her own and said she gave birth to on the island. They refuse to reveal their client's identity. In London, while en route to Los Angeles, Sun is confronted by Charles Widmore at the airport. She tells him she wants to kill Ben, a desire they seem to have in common. Following Hurley's breakout of a mental institution, her and Saeed go to a safe house, which has been infiltrated by 2 armed men. Saeed kills the men, but not before one of them shoots him with 2 potent drugged darts, knocking him unconscious. Meanwhile, Ben and Jack have left the funeral parlor with Locke's body. They discover that Hurley has broken out, hindering Ben's plan to reunite the Oceanic Six. On a boat in the unknown location, Desmond wakes up, having remembered what Daniel told him, and sets off for Oxford. On the island, the remaining survivors are back in the past, attempting to start a fire, when they are attacked by a barrage of flaming arrows. Some of the survivors are able to escape, but Neil Frogert and a few others are killed. Sawyer and Juliet are separated from the group, lost in the jungle. They are captured by a group of armed military men who demand to know who they are, asserting that the island is theirs. The men are about to cut off Juliet's hand to extract information when Locke ambushes them, helping Sawyer and Juliet to free themselves. In 2007, following the events of Because You Left, Jack and Ben part ways, with Ben taking Locke's body up to the butcher for safekeeping. Ben tells Jack to collect any personal items he really wants and to meet him within 6 hours. Meanwhile, Kate and Aaron have fled their home to escape the lawyers demanding the maternity test. They meet up with Sun at a hotel, who implies that Kate should take whatever necessaries are necessary to protect Aaron. Sun forgives Kate for leaving her husband Jin on the freighter when it exploded. Meanwhile, Hurley and Saeed are on the run after they are attacked at their safe house. Hurley drives unconscious Saeed, who has been hit by 2 drug darts, to his parents' house. On the way, Hurley is pulled over by deceased Oceanic Flight 18 survivor and former police officer Ana Lucia, who gives him advice on how to avoid the real cops. So he's seeing a ghost, a spirit. I don't really know how to explain Hurley's powers at this point. Hurley confesses to his mother that the Oceanic Six have been lying. And though she doesn't understand his disjointed story, so is not really understanding what happened. Later, Ben unexpectedly shows up to the house and tries to convince Hurley to go with him to meet up with the rest of the Oceanic Six, saying they all want the same thing, to go back to the island. Hurley wavers for a moment, then runs outside and turns himself into police watching the house, having been advised by Saeed to do the opposite of whatever Ben asks. Later, Ben visits Miss Hawking, who tells him they have found the island, and Ben only has 70 hours to return to it with Locke's corpse and the Oceanic Six. The way they find the island with its movements is really elaborate, and I liked how they did it. The episode opens with a flashback of Desmond in the Philippines, searching for a doctor to help his wife Penny, who is giving birth to their son Charlie. In 2007, Desmond and Penny arrive in London, where Desmond plans to look for the mother of Daniel Faraday, who is believed to be at Oxford University. However, the university has no record of either Faraday, even though Daniel was a professor there. Desmond breaks in and searches Faraday's lab. He meets a janitor who tells him that Faraday conducted experiments on a woman and provides an address for her. At her house, Desmond finds that the woman is in a vegetative state after experiencing temporal disassociation, similar to Desmond's experience on the freighter. He learns that Penny's father, Charles Widmore, is not only paying for medical expenses, but also funded Daniel's research. Desmond confronts Widmore, who gives him the address of Daniel's mother in Los Angeles. Desmond returns to Penny, who agrees they must travel to Los Angeles. Was Daniel's research covered up by the university? Or was it covered up by Widmore? Or is it some other group? What really is going on? What is Charles Widmore to the island compared to everybody else to the island? He seems to know a lot about it. In 1954, following the events of the previous episode, The Lie, Juliet, John, and Sawyer interrogate the two men they have captured. Juliet deduces they are members of the others because they can speak Latin. One of the men, who is revealed to be a young Charles Widmore, now we know why Charles was on the island and knows about the island, kills the other when he agrees to lead them to Richard and flees to his campsite to warn his people. Locke follows him and meets with Richard. Using Jacob's name and the compass Richard gave him to gain his trust. However, he is not entirely convinced. Locke tells Richard to visit him after he is born in 1956, which is shown in the episode Cabin Fever, where Richard shows young Locke the compass. Locke attempts to convince Richard to show him how to leave the island, but he ran out of time as the next time jump occurs. At the same time, the freighter team, consisting of Miles, Charlotte, and Daniel, are captured by another group of others, led by Ellie. Faraday deduces that that the American military has come to the island to test hydrogen bombs, and that the others are in possession of one of them. When he convinces Richard to show him where the bomb is to defuse it, Richard counters and asks Faraday to prove that he is not on a suicide mission to detonate the bomb. Faraday then confesses his love for Charlotte as proof that he will not detonate the bomb on purpose. Ellie leads Faraday to the bomb, named Jughead, and after an inspection, he discovers that it is leaking radiation. Faraday immediately advises Ellie that the bomb should be buried and will not go off for at least 50 years, inadvertently revealing that he is from the future. Ellie doesn't believe him, but Juliet and Sawyer show up and disarm her. The time shift occurs once again, and the group is safe. Charlotte suddenly collapses with a nosebleed. So the time jumps are starting to physically affect them at this point now. Not too much occurred in these episodes. Well, a lot of stuff occurred, but not a lot of stuff that I can talk about or really show how everything occurred in a way where I have to make speculation. It was pretty straightforward episodes, aside from obviously introducing real-time travel and all of that. And it is a worry for me going forward with other shows, if they're not high augmented reality game kind of stuff, then they might not have that much to talk about. I probably will do Breaking Bad, but I might do more generic things instead of episode by episode recaps of everything that's happening, but who knows. But for this show, it is getting really good. I'm really happy with the show, and the plot is starting to really move forward, which is leading to less speculation by me for now. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with other Lost fans.